Hello, everyone. Indeed, I'm Henry. Unfortunately, Naif couldn't make it because he didn't survive to the February weather. And so here I am. I'm a Mistral engineer. I arrived at Mistral last year, actually, in the connectors team. I'm saying connectors because we created connectors before MCP was really a thing. So we're going to see in the presentation how we use MCP and how we can trying to translate everything we did to MCP. So this is the plan of the presentation. I will quickly go over Mistral platform to show you around what we do for those who don't really know the complete spectrum of what we do. Then how we use MCPs, our challenges, and the solutions we applied. We have a big part of our business that is made on enterprise. And so we have tried to make things secured for enterprise. And finally, what's next at Mistral about MCP connectors. So a brief overview of what we actually do at Mistral, like the overall view of it. So most of you must have used or may have used Le Chat, which is our entry point product. Most of it is B2C product. For the pre-built apps, we also have Vibe, which we released at the end of last year, which is kind of our vibe coding product for tooling. You should try it, it's awesome. And for enterprise and for companies, we have worked a lot lately on La Platform, for which we offer a lot of different toolings. You can use our models. We provide API keys so that you can use the API and build your own app using Mistral models. So a bunch of different models. We have also abilities to use audio and do some speech to text. We have released our last model, I think it was yesterday. So definitely try it and go on our website to try it. We also release workflows that allows you to orchestrate a lot of different agents through workflows. So here, many things. And what's important is that we are both going on SaaS, so we are on Mistral AI Cloud, but also on-prem, and that's a big thing that relates with MCP servers, because people that runs the LLM on-prem, they want things secured. They want to make sure that nothing leaves their system without being really truly verified and approved by system engines. So MCPs and Mistral, for the moment, we have about 40 plus connectors and Mistral. It's an interesting thing at Mistral because we are in several spectrum of MCP. Of course, we are MCP client, MCP host. We'll see in a second, the difference we make with both. So we can integrate with many different connectors that we trust and that we have verified. We also allow people to add their custom connectors in the free plan, which we'll see in demo in a second. And finally, we also have this thing in which we have to create our own MCP servers, our own connectors for our own usage. And the challenge behind it will be that our client has some features and we want to make sure that the MCP servers that we create are really up to work with our features before even MCP has released next protocol. So we have to stay ahead of it to make sure our client offers as much feature as possible. So this is the high-level overview. As I was saying, we are both a MCP host, so we orchestrate everything about MCP client. We create one client per MCP server, and we have this kind of loop that runs on Le Chat and on all of our products that use MCP servers to make sure that we can use one server, then another, etc., etc. And we also create our own servers. So let's go quickly to the demo. Here it was in case there is no Wi-Fi, but here is the Wi-Fi. So this is a little bit overview of our system. So as you can see here, we offer a bunch of different connectors that you can directly connect to. Then we have connector directory, which is we entered all the information about authentication that we know about the server and makes it as easy as possible for you to connect. But you can connect your own MCP servers here. We handle authentication detection, and you're able to provide client ID, client secrets if you need to, because we'll see in later slides the problem with the security behind MCP servers. And here is what it looks like. So here I just did some prompt. Search for best MCP articles in the web, and put that in a Notion page. And here is how it worked. So he asked us, what do you think? The content to create in the page, do you approve it? Here in our UI, we are able to say, okay, for such connectors, we always approve or we don't always approve. And then, of course, the Notion page was actually created. So this was a quick demo. Now we'll get into the real things, which are what are the changes we faced building our MCP infrastructure and MCP framework. So at first, we are early adopters, as I was saying. We released connectors long before the June spec was released, and we want customers to be able to do so as well. So we kind of wanted to stay ahead of the MCP protocol evolution, and we implemented OAuth before they officially released it in the specification. Also, we want to support a wide base of servers. So even though SCC transport is kind of being deprecated as a MCP client, we want to make sure that all MCP servers, they take some time to migrate and so on. So we want to support both transports. We also wanted to to be cautious about DCR, dynamic client registration, which is something that is offered by some authentication servers. We are, especially with enterprise plan, people are really not big fan of this because you get a lot of different information about the client of the authentication server. So everything we try to make something secured. So this is one of the first challenge. Then second thing, and we'll see the solution for this, is handling unresponsive servers. Servers is really the wide open, it can be anything. So some servers can break from day to another. And so we have to make sure that our system is resilient to it and does offer some good UX to show unresponsive servers and that it's not on our hand. And then also previously, so we were having our own connectors before MCP, and so we were handling the tools on our side. So we were able to say, I want this tool, here is the input schema. I can decide of the description of the tool and so on. With MCP, it's a little bit more risky because you get the tools when you list the tools. And so at that moment, you get everything and you have to trust the tools that you provided with. So the description and so on, which is really risky based on, you've heard about it, like prompt injection, rug pull, or so, that kind of things. So that's another challenge. And finally, we needed some specific features. For the moment, MCP does not provide anything about localization. So let's say I want to run specific server or specific tools. As a user, I want to be able to see on my UI, okay, you run this server in your natural language. So this is something MCP does not provide. Needs user-facing descriptions and icons. So it has happened in the last specification, finally. So we were really happy about it. And so we can slowly deprecate some of our features that we internally built. And finally, custom instructions as well. It has been implemented in MCP, like server instructions. We are still not yet to the thing we were using in our system, which were dynamic system instructions. For the moment, system instructions are really static. You have to define when you define your server. Okay, this will be my server instruction. Well, we have built some ways of making it dynamic. We'll see in a second. So just a really quick overview of how we handle transport detection. So transport detection, for the moment, we only support SSE, server-side event, and streamable HTTP. Most of the servers, they don't support both. They have one or the other. So we have to make sure that we use the right transport first for the initialize call. So whenever we have an URL, we try the initialize call on the streamable HTTP. We look at the response code. If it's a 200, we decide we can proceed, and then it's up to the server to support HTTP. I mean, they have to respect the MCP protocol. If we get a 400, 44, or 45, we fall back to the legacy detection. And so we don't use post anymore. We use a get to SSE event and finding the stream we get from the SSE. And we expect the right string to make sure that we are having a SSE event. The big problem with that, and that's where the challenge is that what happens if we have a 401? 401, we don't know what it is. Maybe we could have a 401 on SSE, so on a GET. Maybe we can have a 401 also on POST. So this is where transport detection is really hard, and we have to make sure that we first provide authentication before we are able to detect the real transport. And this is about authentication as well. So the authentication flow is that we try to hit SSE or HTTP, streamable HTTP, and then we find out the header, the www, and authenticate. I don't know if some of you have been on this OAuth flow, but that's kind of a real nightmare, especially for that kind of protocol that evolve a lot, and like MCP servers that change authentication from time to time. So yeah, here is kind of the way we're doing. We look at the authenticate, we look at this protected resource metadata, which is a well-known URL that you can find for any MCP server, hopefully, if they support OAuth. And then it brings us to the authorization servers that provide us with some endpoints, along with one endpoint that's really interesting, but that we find really frightening, which is the DCR. Can we register dynamically a client to the authorization server? So if we have a registration endpoint throughout the metadata, authorization server metadata, we can register. If not, we just prompt for the user for a client ID and client secret so that we can end the flow and ask for a token and be able to access the MCP server. Second thing that we wanted to do, so as I was saying at first, we lack some features that we need on our side. And so we kind of created some MCP servers extensions. Our real need is that we want any kind of MCP servers to be able to integrate greatly with our clients. So saying, I'm a user, I'm building an MCP server, and I want having some localization on Mistral. We want to have a real spec that describes how you should do it, but it has to follow the MCP protocol because we want to stick with it. And so we use a lot of tool annotations for this. Tool annotations, it's really made for this. It's really made for providing some information to the clients to explain him how he should display things. Is it a read-only tool and so on? So we use it a lot, and we also try to be ahead of the specification again and use this server card.json for our own needs. So I think it was in the first presentation. Oh no, it was in the third presentation where it was describing next things in MCP server, and server card is really a great thing because it allows us to get many information about the server without being authenticated, and so being able to display it in the way we want. And finally, the custom authentication methods. So we're working with a lot of different customers that want to build some MCP servers that are really secure. Sometimes they want us to pass some headers, to pass some, if there are still servers that do not support OAuth, but just need a bearer token that is actually an API key. So we had to build some authentication method discovery for these extra methods because we want to support most of the servers that people build. And so what we did is we don't want to create 1,000 framework to build MCP servers because there are plenty. So we decided to not wrap, but create extensions of famous MCP servers frameworks, for example, FastMCP or other ones, to be able to kind of integrate with our client as best as possible. Finally, we thought about a challenge, which was server. The server is not always responsive, so we built a system of circuit breaker. You know if you have heard about this pattern, which is basically a way to check when we have, for example, 50 calls that fail on a specific provider. We just break it. We open an electric circuit. We open it, and we say, okay, this circuit is open. You can't talk to it, and so it's going to fail right away the next time you try to call it. And then slowly by slowly, we're going to send a few queries. If you have 100 queries, for example, we're going to send 2 of them just to see if the server recovered. And if we kind of want to close again the circuit so that it can continue to work as we want it. So this is kind of the monitor that we have on our tools. So this is on our Grafana instance. And it also guarantees a good UX for the user because it doesn't have to wait for the server to answer, even though we know it's not going to answer because it's unhealthy. So that's the circuit breaker we try to make. Finally, I want to talk about MCP for enterprise. So at Mistral, we work a lot with enterprise companies, and this is exactly the way they see MCPs. People are afraid of MCPs in enterprise because it has a lot of different security issues if it's not built correctly. And so this is a problem we have. For the moment, we iterate with a direct MCP implementation on a local, and so our product directly talks to the MCP server, but that's definitely not the right way to do it in the future. And we want to introduce what we call an MCP gateway, which is on the client side, a really, really interesting way of talking to MCP servers. So the big problem we have with MCP servers for the moment is all of these that you have on the left. But basically, our model is talking to an MCP server, but no one knows what it does, how it does it, can monitor, did it fail, can have rate limiting, have RBAC permissions, have any kind of control, and these kind of things, enterprise plans needs to have it because they really care about security, especially those who self-host our solution. So, for example, let's take it point by point, decentralized governance here with the MCP gateway, which is basically a way to have all MCP servers to talk to the same endpoint. We're able to centralize all the permissions at one place. We can have observability, having one graph per connectors, for example, and just finding all the tools that have failed and how many of them are used and so on. We can have OAuth, that is SAML. We can have our own authentication on one endpoint and not rely on the MCP authentication that we might not trust. We can have scalability and performance optimization, so caching, batching, and so on. Also being able to change, I want to validate this server with these tools. I want to change the tool description because it doesn't look good. For example, like the Notion, I don't know if you've ever seen the Notion tool descriptions, but that's really, really, really long, and so that overflows completely your context window. And finally, you can have some cost control on how MCPs are used in your company. So this is first thing, enterprise access control that we are trying to make in place. We have a big team that's working on it, like being able to say, which tool are allowed to whom, to which group, which agent is able to call to which tool, how many calls can it do with rate limiting and so on. So enterprise access control is one thing, and RBAC, of course, having like different roles, being able to talk to different tools and different servers and validate prior to the use which server are allowed to be used by whom. Finally, some of our next things we're going to work on. We're going to try to support elicitation and sampling. So of course, MCP is evolving a lot, and so we want to stay ahead of it. But we have to put more effort on that. And support elicitation and sampling. A unified resource is a way we can share resources, so files, image, and so on, throughout the calls without sharing the links to the models, because links is really not the best to handle by models, because sometimes it contains hash, and a model can hallucinate really easily. Public MCP server tooling, so provide a public SDK or public framework to build to extend MCP servers so that it can integrate the best with our clients. Code as tool, you all have heard of it, which is really interesting, like being able to generate code instead of calling tool, because Ruben told us AI is so good at generating code, and front-end more especially. And finally, MCP generation, being able from an API to be able to generate an MCP server really easily with our SDK. And that's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Henry. So we're a bit late, and I'm sure everyone wants to get lunch. So I'm going to take a couple of questions that's been on the chat. There's been a few more. So feel free to grab Henry after the presentation. One question about the MCP extensions that you guys built. Are you planning on contributing that to the protocol or open sourcing some of them, or?
We definitely want to do that, and we're actually currently contributing with the protocol and trying to open issues and everything we think might be useful in the MCP protocol. We put that in different streams. We want to make sure that our connectors that were previously not built with MCP we want to translate them in MCP, and so we need for them to support to be supported by our clients, all the features. And we also discuss with the MCP team for handling the things we need.
Another question about the limit on the tool description. What is yours? Because this person learned the hard way that ChatGPT does not register an MCP server if the tool description is too long, whereas Claude give more flexibility on the number of tokens you can use. So why are you standing there?
I don't think we have any limitation on that. I don't think so.
And Fred asked 10 times on the chat if there is any plan to support the app and the UI side on the roadmap.
I can't really tell. It might happen.
I guess this is the best way we're going to get. Thank you again. Big round of applause for Henry.